Remote work job postings are dying in 2023. Here's why, and here's when remote work will come back. My name's Joel Algie, and I've been in the recruitment space for coming up to a decade. And one of the most common questions I get is around remote work, how to find remote jobs, and why is it so hard to find a remote job? So to understand why remote job postings have really fallen over the last 6 months, it's important to understand a brief history of remote work. Remote work has been around for a long time, but it gained popularity during the pandemic. This is because most companies couldn't have their office open due to the pandemic restrictions, but they couldn't just quit business and lose that revenue. So they figured out a way for people to work from home, and that was called work from home. Now, work from home is actually different than remote work, and we can get into that another time. But essentially, this meant that there were way more job postings that allowed you to work from home. Now, some of the fields where this wasn't possible would be fields like nursing or construction, where the work is hands-on. But if most of your work is done on a laptop and a phone, you can easily do your job remotely. So we saw this rise of remote jobs. Now, something interesting happened. When the pandemic restrictions were lifted, you would have thought that most companies would have forced people back to the office then, but they didn't. And this is a real simple reason. It's not because they cared about your work-life balance or they cared about you working from home or anything like that. It was because it's easier to recruit when you are offering a fully remote job. Let me explain. If you're in Chicago and you're looking for software engineers and you're requiring people to work hybrid or in the office, the talent pool is limited to Chicago or a reasonable radius around Chicago. As soon as you say the job is fully remote, you open up that talent pool to across the US. This means you have way more people that you can potentially recruit, which makes recruiting easier. We were also in a period called the Great Resignation, where most candidates had multiple options for companies, and most candidates knew that they wanted to work from home. So it was one of the most common questions when you're a recruiter is this job remote? So basically, to remain competitive on a market, you had to offer remote work. So now, fast forward to 2023. Why are remote job postings going down? And this is simple. It's because now we shifted into an employer market. We've seen lots of layoffs, which means there's more candidates on the market and there are less companies hiring. This means if a company posts a job, they get hundreds and hundreds of applicants. They're not struggling to find people. And a lot of these applicants are really, really qualified and they're great candidates. So it's almost like they have the opposite problem than they did in 2021. Instead of having no candidates, they've got too many candidates. So an easy way to weed out candidates is to say this position is hybrid or in the office. So again, using that Chicago example, if you want to limit the candidate pool, just say it's hybrid or in the office. Then the only people that will apply are in that local geography, which means the talent pool is a lot smaller, which again doesn't matter if there's more people on the market. So when will remote work make its comeback? It's really simple. It's when we shift back to a candidate market. So when more and more companies are hiring and there's less talent on the market, this is when remote work will come back. Again, it's not because they care about your work-life balance or they care about a really good culture or they care about you at all. It's just because it makes it easier if you make it fully remote. You get way more candidates to go after, which means recruiting is easier. When will this happen? That's up in the air, but I do think we're going to start shifting the market in 2024. More companies are going to start to be optimistic about the future. And definitely once we get to 2025, more and more companies are going to be hiring. And I believe that's when we'll see a full return to this fully remote work option. Save this video so you can prove me wrong in 2025. See you then.